So yeah, as John said, my name's Chris Mormon, and I'm here to tell you about our exciting new company, Rubicon Agriculture. It's a growing business in the growing business. So a quick overview, we're an Indiana C Corp manufacturing and operating automated hydroponic growing facilities in upcycled 40-foot shipping containers. These 40-foot shipping containers are the backbone of the American or the global economy, and they are plentiful. Currently, we're in the midst of our second raise. It's going to be $450,000 convertible debt, 8% note, $3.5 million cap with a 20% discount. And the capital uses will be a key operations hire, development of our pharma and nutraceuticals verticals, and operating capital for additional sales channels development. A little more about the business. So in America, we've got a produce problem. Number one, the average piece of produce changes hands 7 times between farm and end consumer, as well as being a supply chain that stretches over 1,500 miles. Transportation currently makes up 22% of the produce cost you are paying at the grocery store today. As a former oil trader, I can tell you that oil will not stay at $30 a barrel forever. Also waste. All of that beautiful produce you see at the grocery store at Marsh, Meijer, or Whole Foods. Grocers are losing approximately $15 billion a year due to spoiled and unsold produce because no one wants to walk into a Marsh that doesn't have the lettuce, spinach, and other produce that we come to expect. Also, we've got a massive drought situation. California produces 52% of all American produce, as well as over 85% of all leafy greens. California is structurally going dry. There's no question about this. As well as storage, horticultural crop storage, as well as those 7 hands touching that piece of produce before it gets to your plate, is leading to almost 40% crop loss due to improper storage. The U.S. indoor produce market is set to boom. In 2013, it was a $555 million business. By 2020, there will be an addressable $9 billion in alternative agricultural produce needs. Some of those growth factors are local foods. I'm sure 5 years ago, very few of you had ever heard of things like CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, or the farmers markets, which have doubled in the past 3 years. Also, millennials are consuming about 20% more produce than any other generation, as well as some exciting demographics in the Asian and Hispanic markets, consuming nearly 30% more than the American average. Here's our solution. It's the Agro Box. As I said, this is an automated hydroponic shipping container. So we're going to have about 2,300 grow spots in a shipping container with the ability to produce 25,000 heads of lettuce or 12 to 15,000 pounds of other leafy greens. We believe it's best because of our location. It's fresher, healthier produce grown where it is consumed. We are talking hyper-local produce. As we have all seen across many industries, locality is definitely a selling point, and we feel like being able to produce things right there on site is an exciting opportunity. It is better tasting produce. I tried to get our produce into the caterer this week so that you were all tasting it right now. We've actually, I'm not sure where my produce got hidden here. We've actually got a little bit right now, but if you look down at that salad on your plate, that was probably picked 7 to 10 days ago at best. That 7 to 10 days, there's a lot of nutritional degrade and there's a lot of taste degrade or degradation. That more nutrition is an important fact. We're going to have 20 to 30% more nutrients based on the fact that we're going to be able to grow the full grow cycle as opposed to chopping early and going from there. And also, our hands to yours. There's no 7 hands. It's my hands to your hands. It's our farmers' hands to your hands. This is one point of contact. The AgroBox software, we are utilizing programmable logic controller technology, essentially the state-of-the-art manufacturing automation technology. We will be able to control through any computer or smartphone, as well as collecting data over 13 to 15 different data points from relative humidity, temperature, electrical conductivity, what did we just put in? Vapor deficiency factors, among others. Also, it'll be fully customizable to any growing application. Right now we're concentrating on leafy greens, but we are also working on things in the pharmaceutical industry, such as the people who are currently producing vaccines and treatments such as Ebola in tobacco plants. This is totally applicable to that, and that's a very high margin vertical for us. This is a screenshot of our controls, kind of showing what we're getting out of our R&D container right now. We've got temperature across the 8 rooms, but this is one of the just one of the screenshots on the data we're collecting. So as John said, our development status, we started in July, designed our prototype by mid-August, and completed the control suite as well as the box in October of 2015. We have currently completed 2 grow cycles and are pretty well on the way for our 3rd. We have also sold our first agro box, the L3 model, the Living Learning Lab, to a high school called Bryan High School in Omaha. They are actually funded by the Buffett family largely, so it's a pretty exciting opportunity for a partnership with us, and they will be using that in the STEAM education space. Purdue continues to try to push the A, and I can't get anyone else to come with me, but STEM education with that agricultural component. Currently, we are in the midst of our design on the AgroBox Max, and we plan to deliver the first AgroBox Max here in the Indianapolis area in the April to May timeframe. So how do we make our money? First and foremost, we are a manufacturer of agro boxes. This is a high margin business, also a pretty robust number of verticals. We are selling the agro box growing facility. We will have a $32,000 gross margin on sales, as well as offering an additional service plan for continuous revenue. This will be your nutrients, your seeds, your plugs, as well as data analysis from the grow cycle, as we will be collecting data from every grow cycle, no matter who is operating the box. The second side of our revenue model is going to be the Farm Stand 2.0. That will be Rubicon operating agro boxes as a grower. We're going to start out here in the Indianapolis area. Professor Todd Saxton's out there somewhere, and he was generous enough to help us get a dive team. Got a couple of our members over there. A couple of Kelly MBA students who are helping us really kind of work on the rollout for this Farm Stand 2.0. Understanding our demographics, understanding where produce is coming from now, and understanding just exactly how we can offer a more valuable, more nutritious, and fresher product. Top line revenue on an agro box, given our production numbers, is going to be about $90,000 to $120,000 annually, which we're pretty excited about. So we want to prove that model out here in Indianapolis, which actually, depending on who you talk to, is either the first, second, or fourth worst food desert area in the country as far as metropolitan areas. We really want to work to try and combat that. So our go-to-market strategy, we're going to start out in the educational and zoo space. As I told you, we've already sold that first box to Omaha. But we're also working on getting a box to the Indianapolis Zoo. No one really thinks about zoos as massive consumers of produce, but those giraffes go through an awful lot. In conversations with Chaz Weber, the head of the Indianapolis Zoo Commissary, they're going between 15,000 and 18,000 pounds of lettuce a year, in addition to produce that they simply can't procure at any price. Turns out that the panda's typical diet is not really available in the Indianapolis area. We really want to offer them a solution to that problem, being able to grow in our agro boxes some of that native flora and fauna. There are 282 zoos and registered nature preserves in the United States. We really believe that this is going to be a scroll, replicate, and repeat business vertical for us, and we're very excited to do it. I spent a lot of time at Safari when I was on the Third World, and I almost stayed, so I got a real soft spot for the zoo animals. We're also working here in Indianapolis with a couple of different nonprofit organizations, Shepherd Community and Second Helpings, on getting a food desert pilot. Councilman Zach Adamson has really made this a key tenet of what he's trying to fight. It's pretty embarrassing that we're sitting here in Indianapolis in one of the most fertile pieces of ground on earth, and our neighbors do not have access to anything besides the 2-mile hot dogs on the roller at Speedway. We really want to work to change that, as well as offer some economic opportunity in those neighborhoods. We're also working with the Indiana Department of Corrections to integrate the agro box into their vocational training program. At that point, there's $400 million available federally through the Obama administration fighting food deserts. We really want to have a harmonious cycle of ex-cons getting out, having a place to come work, becoming community leaders, and providing that fresh, nutritious produce that is currently unavailable in their neighborhoods. We think that's something that both sides of the aisle can get behind, but it is politics. We are also working on the Farm Stand 2.0, which we discussed earlier. And then we're going to be working on the pharma nutraceuticals. As I said, there are currently 13 different drugs, vaccines, and treatments underway using the biological processes of plants to essentially manufacture these drugs. We think that our super controlled environments are going to be a great asset in working towards that, as well as one that you can replicate whether you're in Indianapolis, Atlanta, or Omaha. Past that, we will start working on our S2 model, which will be the self-sustaining. Our goal is in 3 years to have a box that you can drop anywhere in the world that will be able to collect solar as well as ambient rainwater and essentially set it and forget it, producing fresh greens across sub-Saharan Africa, among other places. At that point, we will start to work on the military and NGO sales verticals. So a couple of our comparables. We're not the first to market, which actually gives me a little bit of comfort. You never want to be the first guy there. But we are going to be the best. Freight Farms is based in Boston. I am a Colts fan. I do not lose to people in Boston. They have raised $4.9 million in venture capital funding on a 5-year total revenue of $1.9 million. It took a while for them to get some traction, but last year they actually sold out of their production quota and have actually upped prices going into this year. So we're pretty excited to be in that space against them. They've really concentrated on the restaurant market, though, which as a third-generation restaurant family, let me tell you, labor is always your biggest problem. The last thing you want to do is buy an expensive piece of machinery where the guy you're paying to run it gets $12 an hour and then says, hey, it's December 1st, I'm going to Amazon, they're paying $15 this month. So I really feel like Freight Farms has really underestimated the potential of the possible verticals they're getting into, which is why we're looking into some off-the-wall things like zoos. Also, Podponics, based in Atlanta, they've raised $7.3 million through Series A. They've had a lot of fits and starts. Again, I think they've had a pretty scattershot approach to the market, but they are currently serving the southeast with a day-picked lettuce that they've got in several grocery stores down there. They had revenues of over $2 million in 2014, but they're very regional, very much staying in that southeast region. We think that there's not going to be one person take over this market. It's going to be who can get to the most verticals fastest, and we think that we can think them up and get there faster than anybody else. So the management team, you've now met me, probably too much. Chris Moorman, as John said, I was a former Wall Street trader. I've also been a consultant to several startups, including National Healthcare Provider Solutions. Jesse Robbins, our VP of Technology for Controls. He's an electrical engineer from Purdue with 4 years experience at Caheen, North America. Jesse cut the scrap in magnesium diecast by over $2 million as a 22-year-old engineer. I'm glad he's not in the room because I don't want him to know how valuable he is. We're incredibly lucky to have him on the team, and his automation technology is really kind of the core of what our business is doing. And then Eric Moorman, you'll probably recognize him over there in the corner. My brother, as well as a veteran of the U.S. Navy, he was a nuclear operator on the, U.S. in Norfolk? I'm sorry, it was in Norfolk, Virginia. But turns out a closed-circuit water system without a nuclear reactor in the middle of it is a whole lot easier to do. He was pretty excited when I said all you got to do is plant things in there. So he is currently pursuing his engineering degree as well, but is also working full-time for the business, and he is really the key touch point as far as our controls. The fourth person of our group is Pat Robbins, who is a double ET from Purdue with both the automation experience as well as the HVAC experience to really be the director of control, environmental control for us. He's been a great addition to the team as well. So on the advisor front, we are collecting them as fast as we can. Purdue University, Petrus Langenhoven is the applied researcher for the horticultural department at Purdue. He is currently doing research on ozone and the hydroponic systems, but he has been an integral resource to us really since we got started in July, helping us out with thinking about things, helping us out with some of the data we've been collecting. So we're really excited to have him on board. Also, the Youth Development for Agricultural Education, I always get the acronyms confused. They are helping us to provide some curriculum plans for use in those K through 12 schools, as well as the that Bryan application to use AgroBoxes as one of the forefronts of STEAM education. Our advisory board and also our seed investor panel is Eric Jansen, our Rose Holman trustee, Brady Lip, the former managing director for post-VC investments at Credit Suisse, and my good friend Zach Smith, who's had 2 successful tech startup exits and is now the director of mobile product at Groupon. So we've got a pretty robust group of people helping us both on the agronomy side as well as on the finance side. Couldn't be more excited about that. So currently we're in this angel round, raising $450. We've got some pretty defined milestones on that. We expect in the next 12 months we'll be going for Series A to expand that Farm Stand 2.0 to 10 urban markets, as well as complete R&D on the self-sustaining model. And at that point, we'll be doing full growth of the self-sustaining model to international markets. So we're very excited about the future. We're very excited about the traction we've gotten so far, and we really hope that a lot of people in this room are seeing AgroBoxes a lot more frequently here in about 2 months. Thank you very much.